Greetings, I'm Delise Nadawalko here with another segment of our English news on TMH. Moving on to our headlines, U.S. has warned pilots of weapon fire as the war in Ethiopia's capital has escalated, and 186 children under the age of 5 have died of hunger over the last 3 months in Tigray, and satellite images shows expanding drone buildup in the capital. People internally displaced by the war in Tigray and suffering from underlying illnesses are said to be at the cusp of death due to the blockade that's been imposed on the region. The IDPs who spoke to Tigray TV said that they're struggling with cancer, diabetes, and other illnesses with no access to medicine. And here are some of their testimonies.
I am using improvised means because the artificial plastic bags is nowhere to be found here. If at all you find one, it costs 350 birr. I can't afford that. People are suffering, especially those of us with underlying illness.
My name is Elhan Muhammad. I am displaced from Humera. My parents could not buy me medicine as the banks are closed. I missed my prescribed drugs twice.
We have no money to buy medicines. People who are helping us are now unable to send us money. The banks and the roads are closed. The lack of medicine is also compounded by starvation. I have interrupted my medicine for the past 2 weeks. They asked me to pay 5,000 birr, an amount I don't have.
Health officer Zaid Mazgeb said the likelihood of death for such people with underlying illnesses is extremely high.
There are children and the elderly who have underlying illnesses. We can't supply them with medicines because of the blockade. There are cancer patients who twice or thrice missed chemotherapy. This person is one of them. We already lost 3 cancer patients due to the lack of medicine. People with diabetes are also suffering.
The health officer attributed the suffering and the death to the siege that's been implemented by Abiy Ahmed's government. The United States warns pilots of weapon fire as war nears in Ethiopia's capital of Addis Ababa. According to the warning, planes operating at one of Africa's busiest airports could be directly or indirectly exposed to ground weapons fire and/or surface-to-air fire as well. The Federal Aviation Administration advisory cites the ongoing clashes between Ethiopian forces and fighters from the northern Tigray region, which is dragged over a whole year. The U.S. this week urged citizens in Ethiopia to leave now, saying there should be no expectation of an Afghan-style evacuation. The Addis Ababa International Airport is the hub for the state-owned Ethiopian Airlines. 186 children under the age of 5 have died of chronic malnutrition only over the last 3 months in Tigray. According to the Tigray Health Bureau head, Dr. Hagos Godfai, the data is collected from 14 out of 39 hospitals in Tigray. The situation is believed to be worse in the areas that are inaccessible and parts of Tigray that are still under the occupation of the Amhara militia or the Eritrean forces. Dr. Hagos attributed the deaths of children to the blockade imposed by Abiy Ahmed's government on Tigray region, and the region's vaccination coverage among children has plummeted to 17% as opposed to the 85% that was there last year. Ravaged by the war, Tigray's healthcare system is teetering on the verge of collapse, and the mothers and children at the Arba'ata Warada hospital in Tigray's central zone, which is severely affected by the blockade on Tigray, had this to say.
I am here to deliver my child, but as you can see, there is no hope. All the beds are taken and the rest are broken. There is no mattress. I gave birth here before, and the delivery room was well equipped and the midwifery wards were complete. You can compare the facility now to the way it was previously. Now the doctors just give us oral consultations because they can't examine us properly. They don't have the necessary equipment.
زولل كل عدد 4 حداري نيرو كاو ግን እንታይ ከም ዘጋጠሞ ጥባ ይጠቡን ህፃን
I gave birth to my baby on November 14, 2020. I gave birth on the field because the Eritrean soldiers were shelling our community. He hasn't taken any breast milk since he was born. I don't know why. Maybe there are some complications because I gave birth alone without medical assistance. He is not receiving any medical assistance even now. As you can see, the hospital has been looted. It can no longer provide care.
The hospital has completely run out of all types of medications. This is especially affecting patients with chronic illness such as diabetics and those suffering from hypertension. It has been months since we ran out of this medication.
We are not giving vaccinations to newborns and children. Children are exposed to illnesses. There is also a high rate of stunting.
Well over 80% of the region's hospitals, 78% of the health posts, and 72% of its clinics have been completely and intentionally destroyed by the Ethiopian and Eritrean forces. He added over 90 of the medical supplies and equipment have been destroyed, vandalized, and/or looted to these armed forces as well. Tigray Health Bureau head Dr. Atnuku Mezgibo says over 1 million people are in the most severe phase of famine in Tigray. Tigray Health Bureau head Dr. Atnuku told Tigray TV that almost the whole population of Tigray is exposed to emergency food aid.
نحن خم كلل 6.3 مليون حزبي حجز يدليو
We have put our estimate that 6.3 million people are in need of emergency humanitarian assistance. Even OCHA's conservative estimate of 5.2 million people is huge. We have heard in the media that 400,000 people are in severe famine condition. That figure of people under IPC 5 was for June. Taking that trend alone, it is estimated that figure could now be over 1 million. It means these people are at the cusp of death.
The doctor also added that the war and saw the destruction of 90% of the crops, 89% of the veterinary clinics, 89% of the office infrastructures, and 84% of livestock breeding, among many others. Ethiopian journalist Solana Koli has won the Roy Peck Prize for his coverage of devastating conflict in the Tigray region of Ethiopia. Solana Koli won the prize for his efforts in depicting the horrors of the Tigray genocide.
I feel so proud to have received such a prestigious award. I didn't expect it because both of the finalists have also done fantastic stories. This award means a lot to me because it is a testament that my efforts have succeeded in shining a light in the middle of information blackouts and making the voice of Ethiopian war victims heard across borders, knocking on many doors and touching many hearts.
And the 2021 Roy Peck News Award.
Result of their journalism. This year we added a legal fund to help journalists fight.
The freelance journalist won in the news category for a report commissioned by AFP on the massacres on the civilians in the country. The military technology website Oryx says satellite images show Ethiopia's expanding drone buildup. According to Oryx, revealed that the presence of Wing Lung is at the Harar Air Base and has now been revealed on a satellite imagery despite the Ethiopian military's attempt to hide them. This currently is information to suggest that Ethiopia's fleet of 3 Wing Lung IUCAVs has recently been strengthened by additional airframes of the same type. Rather than directly purchased from China, these drones are set to be operated over Ethiopia by another country that has recently directly intervened in the conflict. The Ethiopian Air Force is now constructing more infrastructure for the operations of drones several hundred meters away from the Daejeon aviation engineering industry, where civilians aircraft mechanics work to overhaul the ETAF's aircrafts and helicopters. According to Oryx, it doesn't seem implausible that these will soon show up in satellite imagery or video footage as well. Oryx said the imagery offers little in new findings except for the confirming that the exact location from where the Wing Lung is operating. But the fact that the drones are visible on commercial satellite imagery to begin with shows little care on the side of the Ethiopian Air Forces to mask the actual operations conducted with these drones. The Ethiopian military has attempted to hide the acquisitions of these drones in mid-September by hastily moving them to the nearby hangar during their delivery to avoid the detection by prying eyes. The effort failed as in early October as a type was first sighted in the skies over Tigray. According to Oryx, the Ethiopian government had already clumsily revealed the delivery of the Mohajer 6 UCAVs from Iran by publishing the images showing Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed inspecting their ground control station at the Samara airport last August. That concludes our news for today. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.